Happy Saturday, everybody. So, I wanted to talk about an article from 2017. So, it's like, why are you talking about something in the past? So, it was a guitar article. It was written in the Washington Post. I think the exact title of it was The Death of the Electric Guitar, or really the slow death of the electric guitar and why you should care. So, the article was in the Washington Post, and whoever wrote it, basically, the argument was that the electric guitar was dying. Okay, and there was a lot of facts to kind of back that up. The first one was the fact that there was a lot less electric guitars being sold. I think the number was 1.5 million in the prior years to about 1 million around that time. That was one thing. The second was the fact that two of the biggest guitar manufacturers, both Gibson and Fender, were in debt. The third was the downgrade at that time in 2017, and they're still struggling. Guitar Center. Guitar Center had, everybody knows it, $1.6 billion worth of debt. And so you have all of this stuff, which was basically the six-string electric guitar is dying, and why is that the case? That was basically what the article was talking about. And essentially, the argument was that the death of the guitar resulted primarily because there were no more guitar heroes. If you looked at the people who are players of the guitar, we probably, all of us, are middle-aged dudes that learned how to play the guitar, got inspired as a result of Hendrix, Beck, Page. And, we all rushed out to get guitars when we heard, Purple Haze, or we heard Led Zeppelin playing. And right now, younger generation's just not doing that, even if there are some great players. You've got people like, oh my God, Tosin Asabi, but let's say John Mayer. The argument is people are not really rushing out to buy guitars because they're listening to John Mayer. You probably have more people who are blues aficionados who already play the guitar who listen to John Mayer. So you had all of this stuff. So this is bad, bad, bad. People are not buying the electric guitar, and it's gonna die. Let's put it that way. I want to tie that in now with the pandemic, and this is kind of an interesting twist of this stuff. I think you're starting to see. I put my thumbs up, the rise of the guitar as a result of the pandemic. But before I do that, so you had this article talking about all the bad things in 2017 that were wrong with the guitar, or I should say the death of the guitar, basically, the six-string electric guitar. And I remember, I think it was the CEO of Fender, Andy Mooney, was then asked around 2018, maybe it was the same year, but they were say, hey, what do you think about this article? And one of the things he said that I really, really liked, being a marketer, was that it wasn't so much the death of the guitar. It wasn't an acquisition problem. And what he did was he looked at the fact that people were buying acoustic guitars even at that time. He said that it wasn't an acquisition problem. People were actually buying guitars. The entryway into guitars are typically buying a ukulele or buying an acoustic guitar, and then later on buying an electric guitar. So that's typically the route that most people take when they're like learning the guitar in and of itself. So he said it wasn't an acquisition problem, it was a retention problem. Because typically the problem that most people have is that within 90 days, if they have not learned to play the instrument, they quit. So you buy this guitar, and if you haven't learned to play within 90 days, you haven't progressed, you quit. If you progress past that 90 days, the data shows that on average you have 7 guitars. So you are going to be a really great consumer of guitars if you go that far. So you've got that. So, and I really believe that it wasn't an acquisition issue, it was a retention issue. And obviously everybody knows of all the problems with the guitar manufacturers from Gibson, Fender, that's been well documented. So where I wanted to tie in was really, what's going on with the state of guitar purchase, or just music in general, but specifically guitar, because that's our instrument, electric or acoustic guitar, during the pandemic. And ironically, when I was doing my research, that the total opposite is going on. Using sort of some of the figures and looking at that, Guitar Center's online purchases have more than doubled during the pandemic. You've got a lot of people at home, a lot of time. So you got people who want to learn an instrument, and guitar is an easy one. There's not a lot of size that's required and things of that nature. So you've got that. The other thing that's kind of really, really indicative is that the acoustic guitar market is on fire. The fact that's on fire, as they say, that is the entryway into beginners. So that's typically people who are learning the instrument. So that is a great sign. So you've got online purchases up. You've got the fact that acoustic guitars are selling or moving out there. The third one, and I know I'm guilty of this just during this whole pandemic, is upgrading your instruments. So in other words, what you have happening is that people who own a lot of guitars, they either want to hot rod it. So I started with this. This is a cheap Firefly that I bought, right? And it doesn't say Firefly on this thing right now because I'm hot rodding it. This is a new neck. I've got brass saddles going. I've got, guitar detailer polish out here. I've got strings on that, all of this stuff. So I've taken this instrument and I'm hot rodding it. So I've bought other things like that. I even bought vintage tuners for this stuff. And I might not use it, but the point is, with all this time on our hands, even the people who have a lot of guitars like I am are spending money and are upgrading the equipment that they have and are hot rodding it. So these are all good signals of that. The fourth thing that I think is kind of important is that another metric was the fact that during the pandemic, online lessons are up. So people don't only want to buy these guitars. So you've got things like Guitar Center's online lessons, Fender Plays online lesson, personal teachers and things of that. Just getting more students and more people virtually that want to learn the instrument. So this is, if you can take something good and make it positive or something bad, which is this pandemic that we're all living in, this is it, okay? And another thing too is even things like GarageBand. There's an increase of 55% in terms of usage and purchase of GarageBand. That means people are not only buying this instrument, they're learning to play with it. Okay, so I think overall it's a good sign if we can take something positive from something negative. It's like, I kind of say, hey, we started off with the death of the electric guitar or the 6-string electric guitar. And as a result of the pandemic, there are some great positive signs of what's going on with the guitar world in and of itself, and it's not all so rosy. I'll give you an example of something I was hearing about with Guitar Center. Recently with Guitar Center was pretty much closed. I was watching a podcast or somebody talking about the fact that, so there would be like 2 managers out there sending all these online purchases out there. So those people were overworked. And there are some folks who got bonuses, and Guitar Center wanted the bonuses back from them because there was a new person working in HR headquarters. So there's a lot of issues. And again, this is not to knock Guitar Center. I buy things from Guitar Center. I'm sure all of you buy Guitar Centers. But frequent your local shops. I'd go to the Music Emporium out here in Lexington. I also go to Guitar Stop. So I'm all Mr. Music out in Brighton. So frequent those as well, and continue to make purchases, continue to take online and virtual lessons, and stay safe out there. All right then. Thank you for watching.